Here again at Cobra HQ. This is one of my favorite hitting bays in Carlsbad. This is the first time I've been here, by the way, since everything got done.
Yeah.
It's awesome. So I'm joined by Lusty again. Super fun fitter here at Cobra. This is going to be a good time. You guys saw one of my more popular videos, actually, just so you know, on my YouTube channel is you fitting me for that driver.
Sweet. Good to know.
Stuff. And then Caitlin, who I've been trying to track down for a couple of years now, actually, to get on and do some content. But you work on the iron design team. What's your actual title?
Yeah, I'm the senior product manager for the iron category. So I work with people that are much farther than me in R&D on the club design and development aspect. And then I kind of lead the charge in terms of how we position our product in terms of offering, messaging, strategy, all that fun stuff.
Perfect. And then, so today we're going to be focusing on the 3DP tours. You guys know I have a set. I've talked about them a lot. I've made numerous videos. They were in my official What's in the Bag for this year, but I was never actually fit for those clubs. So we're going to change that today and figure out how to play them at the best performance I can, which is going to be kind of crazy because I'm not actually sure how much we can squeeze out of those that I don't already see. But we're going to do a little bit of that, and then we're also going to chat through the design structure and then maybe a sneak peek into the future. And then we'll create other content for some of that.
Yeah, we got some cool stuff to show you.
Yeah, awesome. All right, cool. I want to hit pause. So let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right.
Okay, not bad out of the gate. Sounded good.
Yeah, it sounded great. And a ball that moves right now, like in my current life,
You're fine with that?
is fantastic.
That's something you and I share together then.
It is the no height, no spin, start left, go left. Kills me. That's
I know
like,
that shot all too well.
all I need to do is get rid of that, and mentally it's a lot more fun.
There we go.
Like if we get 50 of those, start right, come back a little left.
Have a 6-footer for birdie.
Yeah. And to be fair, I have loved these irons so much, but I was messing around with some shaft stuff too. So this is the first time I'm actually hitting it with these.
Okay.
Which is probably like kind of the answer. But I'll let you figure that out. So Caitlin, for everybody, from a design standpoint, what did it take to get these into this form factor? Because I think a lot of people would assume that the first try of this would have been so big, because it would have been easier, right, to create this giant lattice structure inside, have a little bit of wiggle room. How did this more players desired form factor come out?
So it started kind of as an experiment and a crazy idea and innovation, because it's never really been achieved before, a small shape that's actually forgiving. And there's product out there in the market that, Titleist has, like the T100, that has a ton of tungsten in it to help with forgiveness. But you're really limited to how much weight that you can save with traditional methods like casting and forging and, making pockets in a hollow cavity. So really we took a shape like King Tour and said, how forgiving can we make this product?
Yeah.
Can we create kind of the best of both worlds, a player shape that's also forgiving for, say, a 10 plus handicap to use? So we have access to a program it's called NTOP. So it's basically a software program that allows us to optimize the internal construction of the iron using latticing. And that program is used by companies in other industries like aerospace, automotive, because we're seeing 3D printing being used slowly in other industries. But it allowed us to take a shape like King Tour, put in certain mass property targets like MOI and CG, and it basically automated the design to provide this internal lattice structure that saved enough weight and repositioned it within the head to give you the forgiveness properties of a King Tech iron.
Yeah, without it being the size of the King Tech iron, which was, I think, the coolest part of this whole thing.
Yeah, totally. So it's really a unicorn club that has never existed on the market. So the club that you're using there is even slightly smaller than the King Tour.
Yeah.
Smaller blade, smaller top line, but it has the MOI or stability of a King Tech iron.
Yeah.
and a CG that's really low. And normally it's really challenging to combine a high MOI with a low CG.
Yeah.
There's trade-offs there. So 3D printing, because of that latticing that we're able to design, allows us to get kind of the best of both worlds, or that unicorn iron.
Yeah, absolutely. It was funny because the first time Jose showed me these, it was just the individual head and like the cutout that you guys have.
Yeah.
And he knew that I had been like so infatuated with the CBs, and then I moved to a CB-MB combo set, and I looked at it right away. I was like, it just looks like my CB does. Like putting this down, other than like once you start hitting it, the sole's a little bit different between them, but there's no visual like interruption in your mind for somebody that was playing the better players' clubs going into something like this. And then you hit it and you get away with so much that I would not get away with my CBs whatsoever. Like there's so many shots that I'll hit, I'll be like, oh, that's fine. Versus my CBs, I would have been dead. And I've been playing those I'm on my third set of them at the moment. Like I went from a full CB set to a split set and then to a split set of the blacks. So like I've loved those irons since they came out.
And the beauty is it's a one-piece construction too. So it's a constant face thickness supported by that lattice. So you get kind of the performance of a face insert, like a King Tech iron, but the feel and the precision of a player's forging. That's a one-piece construction. So you don't get those flyers on center shots like you would with the King Tech style iron.
And it doesn't have that click.
Yeah.
It's still a nice,
right?
It's still a nice, great, soft, firm sound.
Soft.
Yeah. It's not I wouldn't say it's as soft as the CB-MB, but it's not, there's no click. Like it's just a little bit firmer without the audible change, I guess is the right way to say it. Because the way it sounds is almost the same.
Yeah.
The feel is just a little bit firmer off these, but it's nothing that, again, I think that was a huge deal for you guys to do this in this package versus a bigger package to start, because it's sort of, I don't know, like it kind of like over-proved the concept, I guess you could say. Because it would have been one thing to be like, okay, here's a King Tech X sized package with the lattice structure and the tungsten moving, and people kind of would have, I think, expected that, right? But you guys threw it to us in a players combo that a couple guys on tour hit right away. And then I've seen a ton of people that were in something like a T100, or maybe like somebody that needed something a little bit more workable than like a 770 or something like that, where they didn't want the hollow body characteristics anymore. Yeah. They wanted something that was a little bit tougher off the face, a little bit better sounding, a little bit better feeling, and a little bit more controllable across the face as well. Because like you just said, you don't get a big change in performance across the face on these, which has been...
And that's really important for somebody that's looking for distance control and consistency.
Like that shot has no... That doesn't deserve to do what it just did.
That was toe, right?
Yeah, based on where I hit it, there's no way that... Yeah, super cool.
Yeah, let's pull the one up actually. So you hit that.
It had to be so... Yeah.
So toey, right?
Yeah.
Pretty far out there. If we look at ball speed, it dropped a little bit. You went from 123 to 120. But if that's a CB or an MB, so that carried 171 versus your first three carried 176. You lost 5 yards. That could be 10, 12 with a MB, right? Yeah. So that's the difference. That flew to the front of the green versus like being short in a bunker in a hazard or.
Because in my split set, my 7-iron is the MB.
Okay.
So if I do that with a 7-iron in the MB,
right,
that's 159 probably, 160 if I'm like really, really lucky.
And it feels terrible.
Yeah, and it feels like you hit it there, right?
You
like
get that negative feedback.
Yeah, like these can give you the feedback of where you hit it without it feeling bad. Mm-hmm. It's more just like a nudge of like, hey, that wasn't so great. Versus the MB is like, hey, that sucked. And we're not going to give you any reward for it.
Okay, let's do one more and then we'll kind of get a baseline where we're at. Sounds solid.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take a look at those numbers. So you just hit the 3P tour, standard loft, standard lie angle. So loft will be 31 degrees, lie angle will be 62. We talked off camera about your kind of gamer shaft. So that's the Project X 6.0. So that's what you're used to. So we started with that. So ball data wise, we average 176 carry. You had one a little longer, that last one 180. The one you hit short there at 171. The other ones are right at 176. Peak height, we averaged 100 feet, so plenty of height. I always talk a lot about land angle and fitting. So you're right at 47 degrees with the 7 iron. That's in a good window. Anywhere 45 to 50 is kind of a good spot you want to be. Spin rate, you're right around 6,000. So in modern day irons, that's pretty good. 20 years ago with a 35 degree 7 iron, it kind of was like 7,000 for a 7, 8 for an 8. With where lofts are now in irons, it's lower than that.
I have that argument on mine
a lot.
frequently. Yeah, we got to think about spin in terms of loft, not in terms of what the bottom of the club says.
Right. Launch angle, you average 17. That's pretty good. Maybe a touch low, but nothing crazy. Ball speed was really good. I mean, we had that one we talked about. You really miss hit. It dropped down to 120. Other than that, you're really tight. You're 125, 123.5, 23, 25. So really consistent ball speeds. Again, we talked about that with the single piece construction. We see that a lot with these really, really tight ball speeds. The better players and the best players of the world, that's what they're really looking for. They're looking for their iron to go the same distance every time. Tell me about the shaft. Have you always played 6.0, played stiff? Like, have you ever dabbled in extra stiff, or you just feel more comfortable in stiff? Or...
So, this is a long story. I'll make short. So my first set of the full CBs was 6.5s. And then my first split set was 6.5s soft stepped twice. And then my current set is 6.0s straight in. I don't know why. Can't tell you why. I think it was just me tinkering with stuff. I don't mind the heavier shaft. I think at one point it was me just trying to hit 120 and I didn't care what flex it was. Because the soft stepped 6.5s don't feel as good as the regular 6.5s or the regular 6.0s. Because that was me trying to hit a flex, but with the heavier weight. So I ended up in 6.0s, and the only reason was, I can't remember who the fitter was, but somebody had told me that I was, in his eyes, I was right between 6.5, 6.0, and he thought the 6.0 was a good idea for when it's not a full swing, because the 6.5 might be harder to load if I'm going 70%, 75%. And then I realized that I never do that. I'm either full bore or no bore. So it's like, I'm all the way down to my 60. I'm slamming the thing if I have to.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same. But the reason I asked that, club head speed on those 7 irons, you're averaging 93 miles an hour. So you get plenty of speed. Tour average is like 94 miles an hour, I think. So typically when we see 7 iron above 90, it's kind of when we start to look at X. So I think we should experiment with it.
Sure. I haven't done it in a while, so I'd love to. Yeah.
Tack angle, you're 4 down with a 7 iron. So you're down. I wouldn't call that steep, but I wouldn't call it shallow. It's probably kind of about average. In out quite a bit. That's where your little draw comes from. From a fitting standpoint, dynamic lie. So this was a standard lie angle, and you're coming in a touch toe down at standard. Again, we talked off camera, your miss is left, and you don't want to see it going left. So you being a little bit dynamically toe down at impact is probably a good thing. We can experiment with going more flat to see what happens. If it goes too far right, or if it really helps eliminate that kind of left side of the golf course. Well, that's where we're at right now. So why don't we mess around with some shafts, and we'll mess around with some lie angle and see where we end up.
Perfect. Cool.
But what did you build?
Okay, so we went 2 flat and lie angle, just to see what that does to the ball flight. The lie angle, our standard lie angle in these is actually kind of flat to start. It's already at 62 degrees, so now we're at 60. We'll see if it's too far flat, or if it kind of gets rid of that left side of the golf course for you, then it'd probably be good for you. Shaft-wise, we're Nippon Modus 120X, so we've gone from stiff to X. Similar weight to what you're playing in your Project X, but a little stiffer. So let's just see how it goes.
That felt so good. Solid. Definitely more right.
I will say, at address, it looks more comfortable.
Okay.
I just, part of like, again, I don't exactly know why my ability to hit my irons went out the window over the last month, but the one constant that I've had through any set that I've tried to put in the bag is if it even looks a little left at address, I just can't. My mind can't get over it, and it's just, meh. Whereas this looks like I can trust a little bit too much path and it'll still be okay. Like that.
Nice.
That's for like your ideal shot in the golf course. That started right and then just fell a little bit left, but still had spin, right?
Yeah, it's not doing this in the air though, which is hard to keep consistent. Big ball speed jump.
That was nice.
Does it feel more right by us?
I don't know. It doesn't feel like it's going to go left at all. I think I'm still not fully releasing it because I'm terrified of that. But it looks like I would rather miss like that than miss left.
I'm sorry, good.
Yeah, that was like fully commit to the release and let it go. But even that one, Jesus, holy cow. Even that one started like just a hair right. And that's as much release as I have though. So to me, that's, if I miss left, that's all it's gonna be now. That's very comforting. It might be a little bit aggressively right, like maybe move it back one, but that is very safe to me.
So pretty cool here. So launch and spin, exact same, like right on the number, the exact same. Again, as it should be, right? We didn't change the loft. Ball flight was more right? So on average, standard lie angle, you were averaging 5.5 yards right. This is as far as 14. Now the first one was 30, so it's kind of skewing the average. So let's call it 8 to 10, so double as far right. Which again, to your eye, probably suits you. One thing I noticed which was kind of interesting. So your club head speed was the exact same, right? Both these two shafts. Yeah. Look at your ball speed. It jumped.
Yeah, I noticed on like the
hour.
second shot there, it was crazy. Yeah.
That's a lot. Sometimes we see a mile an hour or two, but it wasn't like you swung fast. You swung the exact same 93 miles an hour. So anytime we're doing an iron fitting and like the only variable we change is shafts, and also the ball speed goes up, it means you're heading more in the middle of the face. And it could be a number of things. It could be the weight. It could be the bend profile, how it feels to you. And like sometimes you won't know until you just hit them. But that's one of the things you'll notice in iron fitting. If you find someone in the right shaft, whether it's a timing thing, whatever it is, they can get that club back to the center of the club face. If the ball speed's going up, you're hitting it more in the middle of the face, right?
And those, the first batch felt good. This felt, just from a sound and feel standpoint, it felt like it was more consistent on this one than it was on the PX.
Yeah, if you look at your strike location, you were more centered on average with this setup. Lie angle, so we went from a standard lie angle head to the 2-degree flat head, and dynamically you were about 2 degrees flatter at impact. So again, it's working as it should.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And if you look at your path and face angle didn't change, but the ball went more right. So that's just the lie angle, right? That's a good example too. Like a lot of fitters or some fitters, they think you have to get the lie angle right back to zero. The old school, like hit on a lie board, if it's up or down, get it back to zero. But as a fitter, you really want to use lie angle to your advantage to move the ball left or right? So, for you being too flat, it kind of it limited that left side. If it's too much, then we can go one flat and kind of meet in the middle. But I definitely think for you, you're going to want to be toe down at impact. Just because, again, it sounds like anything left, it scares you, right?
Yeah, it makes the next swing harder. I'll tell you that. Yeah, the one after the left swing is like, what am I going to do? And then usually it ends up just ballooning, because it's just a fear thing, like straight up. It's just a mental fear. Yeah,
I have the same fear.
Yeah.
Cool thing as well, actually. So launch and spin were identical, but because your ball speed was higher, the peak height was higher, right? So a lot of people don't realize that if your ball speed gets higher, and these stay the same, the ball will actually go higher, right? So with this, we got to 112 feet. So
that's a miracle.
So you're about 10 feet higher in the air without changing launch and spin, which is pretty cool. You went from 47 land angle to 48.5, 49. So a little more stopping power, again, without increasing the launch and spin, which is pretty cool, right? What we see a lot of people love these 3D irons, especially in the long irons, because in the the 4 and 5 iron, because we can keep that CG so low. Like typically an MB or CB or Players Club, the CG starts to get high. Where in a 4 iron, typically you need help getting the ball in the air. So these having those tungsten really low in the club helps keep that CG low and keep the ball in the air. Okay, so really good stuff there. We could finish the fit and say we're good, but you're here. Let's tinker some more. But
is there anything there, like this being a 185 club, I don't know what I'm going to do at the bottom. Yeah. So is there any, like, would you play with Loft at all on this, or is that not really going to do what you would think it's going to do?
So you mentioned that you want less bounce, right? Like if you could do anything, if you could have your crystal ball,
and that's going to make it worse. Yeah.
Smaller. If we weaken the Loft, try and back these off, we're going to increase the bounce and probably hit them higher. Like now that you're at 49 landing, I'll call it. If we weaken these, you could get to like 120, 125 feet, and that could be sort of too high.
I can make the 185 work. It's just,
What loft?
I would need my fitter.
What loft do you play in wedges?
50, 56, 62.
Okay, so pretty big gaps, right?
Yeah, they're like, I think it's 15 usually between each.
Okay.
It's like 130, 115, 100 usually.
How far do you hit your current pitching wedge?
I'll pull it from like 145 comfortably. 150 if I need to. Because again, I'd rather slam the pitching wedge than hit a soft 9.
Right.
Which,
once we figure out this shaft, let's hit a pitching wedge just to see how far it goes. Because they're 45 degrees in these, so they're still pretty weak. So as long as I'm not getting at like 151, 152, you'll still be at if your gap wedge is 130, you'll still be at your 15-yard gap, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, let's try some shafts.
All right, Caitlin, while he figures that out.
Yeah.
So player testing, you've done normal consumer player testing, but as well as high-level tour guide testing with these.
Yeah.
What are the similarities between that? And then also what sort of different information do you learn from either category? Because I know we talked just a little bit off camera of like, I don't think when somebody says, hey, are you going to go buy new irons, Cobra's the first name anybody blurts out, right? And this is kind of changing that. So talk to us a little bit about like, what's the interaction at the high level, but then also how is that translated into cool moments with like the average weekend player?
Yeah, and we're always learning stuff from tour. I mean, Ben Showman and our innovation team goes on tour and rides in the tour truck and talks to tour players all the time, and continually gets feedback. And that's really where the 3D printing concept came to be. Yeah. Because in the past, we've 3D printed products for tour players. We've 3D printed wedges, utility irons, not to the extent of the design that's in these production irons.
Sure.
But we started out, tinkering with small details that tour players are particular about, like shaping and CG. And
I heard there was some of that with Lexi trying to get her out of those damn irons.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That had to be a heck of a process to go through that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the neat thing about 3D printing is you can literally 3D print anything.
Yeah.
And turn it around relatively quickly and get it in their hands in a couple weeks in some cases. So that's really the advantage, and why we started investigating more into 3D printing. And then that kind of expanded into, like I touched on, the software program that we can use. Not only can we print like fully solid body 3D printed products, but we can take that to a whole new level and mess with the internal construction and dial in things like exact CG locations that they're trying to tune.
Sure.
Like for example, the 3DP tour, Ricky tested the set and the CG in the short irons was a little too low for him. So he was flighting the ball too high. And so we messed around with tuning the CG a little bit higher to get that trajectory where he liked it. And those are the type of things that we can work on and print specifically for each player down to the exact top line thickness that they want, the tweaking offset and blade length and things like that.
Sure.
So we learn a lot from tour, and the cool thing is a lot of the shaping and designs that we make for tour players made it into our production products, like the 3DP Tour, and then the other products that I'm going to share with you
the cool
later
stuff,
in the 3DP line. But yeah, it's just really opened up a whole bunch of doors when it comes to design and personalization and customization that we didn't have before with forging or casting, because we're not limited to tooling. We don't have to make tools for certain iron shapes. We can design up an iron and print it, and it can be one of one just for a certain tour player.
Yeah, sure. And then Andrew, we were talking off camera a little bit, people coming in for fits, like, you know, regardless of handicap, right? People coming in for fits here with you that are, now there's so much buzz around this that like people are specifically coming in to try this 3D printed iron because they just hear so much about it. What has that been like? And then like, I'll pass it back to you too, Caitlin, of just like, what's the buzz been around it? Like, what are the things that you hear kind of, you know, like ancillary thoughts that just trickle down into Cobra HQ around the buzz of the product in general? And then also touch on the pricing thing, right? Because like, again, off camera, we all talked and agreed on the exact same statement basically, but that is something that people worry about. But it's like, how much of a worry is that when they walk in the door versus when they're walking out the door?
Yeah, we've had quite a lot of fittings where people book online and they put in the notes or they walk in the door and they say, hey, I'm in for 3D irons, and that's it. And they've either, you know, seen it online. I mean, they've booked an appointment online. So they've gone to cobragolf.com, they found our booking page, they came here looking for 3D irons. We've had a lot of customers come in that weren't Cobra iron players before, but now because of 3D printing, they were curious about it. A lot of players playing, you know, some kind of forged players club from different OEMs that come in and maybe they don't practice enough, or maybe they don't really need MBs or CBs, and they've been kind of blown away by the performance of the 3D irons. And again, most people that are booked online are coming in here ahead of time. They've done the research, they've looked at the price, but then they're blown away by the performance, you know, and the sound and the feel and the performance. Another trend we've seen as well, we've seen a lot of players get fit into 3DP Tour irons into very lightweight and soft graphite shafts. So typically you probably wouldn't see in like a King 2 or CB style iron, because we're seeing players that probably handicap-wise or speed-wise before couldn't get into an iron this small, and now they're able to. We've actually adjusted our iron lineup to accommodate for that, more, you know, taper tip, you know, lightweight shafts to fit into 3DP Tour, because we're seeing a higher handicap than typically that would fit into, like, let's say a King Tour iron, which has been cool.
Yeah, I think one of the most interesting like niche markets, if you could just pick out a market, is the good ball striker who's just slow, right? Like either higher level female, or the guy that used to be 4 his whole life, and the only reason that he's a 10 now is because he can't get the ball where he used to be able to get it, but the ball striking has never changed. Stuff like this is really, really cool because you can throw a shape at them that they've been using their whole life and they're so happy to look at, but now it gives them just a little bit of help to get that ball speed back to where it used to be. That's a really cool, not growing because it's always been there, but I think that there's more focus on that, as like the MB-CV product has kind of been not finalized, right? Like there's still tweaks you can make to that, but it kind of is what it is at some point. And then moving up and like trying to create something for the guys that just don't want a hollow body iron to be able to play is super, super cool. And like you said, I think the price justifies itself as soon as people get into a fit with them or hit them. And it's a huge deal for people to try them.
Yeah, listen, like not everyone can afford that type of set of irons. I like to anyway. If someone comes in here for fit and you know that it's out of their price point, I still let them try. I let them experience the 3D technology, whether they're here to buy or not. I still make sure that everyone that comes here to get fit, they still get to try the innovation and, you know, see the power behind 3D printing.
All right, let's hit the next thing, and then I got one more thing I'll tee up. Caitlin with after.
So it says MMT 125X, same angle, 2 degrees flat. Sounded pretty good.
Yep, don't hate that. It felt like that came out more penetrating.
Yeah, so we look at impact. It was a little thin, little toe, not a lot, but that's still fully 179 on, you know, let's call it not a perfect strike.
That was really thin. So the only thing with MMTs for me has always been that it feels like the head can dump a little bit. It feels like there's just so much weight down in the tip section of these. And it's not an every time thing, but like that one, I think I was like trying to save it as I came down. Like it felt like it was going to dump, so I kind of yanked it up. Yeah, maybe just a hair off the toe.
All kind of the same spot.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't feel as active.
Yeah, it's one thing a lot of people that try MMT, they feel stiff, especially the 125. Like they're pretty stout. Again, but some people love and some people don't, right? That's why we test.
Yeah, it just feels like I have to kind of force it up a little bit.
Yeah, ball speed came down. Even just watching you swing, you don't look as free or as comfortable. So let's go back to that nip on. Try it again. 'Cause, I mean, those numbers were great. I mean, the biggest thing that jumped out was the ball speed jump.
Yeah, sure.
All
right, so then Caitlin, big question. I would imagine that this is not going to be the last 3DP iron that we see. There's obviously been rumors, discussions, some fake photos, some real photos with Max Homa and everything that you guys are doing with him. So give us the most tease you can about what potentially could be coming, and then there'll be a video in the very far future of what it actually is.
Well, I mean, there has been photos leaked of the irons that Max Homa is playing currently.
Yeah.
So we are working on expanding our 3DP line to accommodate different shapes. With 3DP Tour, it has such a resounding impact in our company. It's made everyone believers in 3D printing and what it can do.
Yeah.
And we firmly believe that the 3DP Tour is the best iron that we had ever designed. It was a mic drop moment, and
Sure.
we're kind of thinking, what can we possibly come out with that's better than this? So, I mean, a limited edition launch turned into a full-blown production release.
Yeah.
And now we've realized that we've kind of developed a platform for 3D printing, and it really comes down to big performance in a smaller shape. So we're able to create performance using 3D printing that we can't create otherwise. Yeah. And it's not just 3D printing the head itself that creates that performance. It's the internal lattice. And that's something that we really want to drive home. It's not, like the irons that Bryson was playing, for example, the Voda irons, solid body 3D printing, no internal design. All our 3D printed irons have internal lattice.
Yeah.
And that's really what sets the performance apart, and the feel and the precision from any other iron out there. So we've realized that we can use the software and the 3D printing that's available to us to expand our lineup to target certain player categories.
Yeah.
So, we don't need to necessarily just stay small in shaping. We can try to increase the size to try to drive MOI as high as we possibly can and really see and push the limits of what 3D printing can do. So it's really exciting, and it's cool how they kind of live alongside our other lineups in the King line, because the performance relates in a really unique way. Like the 3DP Tour is shaped like a King Tour that performs like a King Tech.
Yeah.
You could create an iron shape that's like King Tech that performs like a DS.
Yeah.
Adapt.
So what other jumps on the current Cobra lineup can you kind of go, okay, this one can perform like 1, 2, that one, and then kind of where do those fall?
So imagine an MB that performs like a CB or a Tour. Just along that spectrum, there's a lot of different possibilities that 3DP gives us, and we firmly believe that it kind of sets the table for the future of iron design, and we're excited with what the future brings.
Awesome. Yeah, you have, the both of you, but like, I think you two have two of the more exciting, fun jobs at Cobra right now, just because of what you guys are on the cusp of. Like you from a obviously testing standpoint, and then seeing what it does to physical players, and then I can't imagine like the things going on in your brain on a daily basis of like where you could take this, because I don't know that there's a limit to this necessarily, because as one thing improves, you're going to figure out how to change the internals this way. And then like, I don't know all that, obviously that's not how my brain works, but like, I can't imagine what you guys are thinking of for 2027, 2028, like that, like where this could top out at or not ever top out at, I guess, essentially. It would be really, really cool.
And you talked about kind of this being a certain niche product.
Yeah.
And in reality, I mean, the 3DP Tour can be played by handicaps all the way up to 15 plus. And I think the barrier that we're up against is just kind of, you know, the player that maybe shies away from a smaller shape because they think that they're not good enough to play it. But in reality, the way that we've designed it, it's forgiving enough for anyone in a mid-high handicap to play. So it's that education process that we need to continue to develop of what 3D printing means and what it can give you.
Sure. Super cool.
Okay.
All right, back to Modus.
Back to Modus 120.
What is the profile structure of Modus?
So Nippo 120 is actually a pretty unique profile. It's a very, very soft handle. So I would say that a lot of people find it feels softer than how stiff it really is. So it's soft in the handle. So players that don't necessarily like a really, really stout shaft. But then at the tip section where it needs to be stiff, it's quite stout. And it is a lower launching shaft. So a lot of people find it kind of smooth, I would say. And it plays softer than what it really is, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah. It feels alive for being an X product, is the way I would say right now. Okay. It's so clear. Like, and that honestly, that didn't even feel that great. I'm being honest. Like, that didn't feel like I hit it.
So your ball speed's back up to
where I should
128 again on a little thin strike. Yeah. So again, that's where, like, you know, iron shafts, within reason, sometimes they can move the ball flight up or down. A lot of it really is just a timing and feel thing and getting the club face back to the ball. And as a player, you don't know until you test, but typically you'll find one that you kind of suits you better. Even sound.
Yeah, like, and I'm back to feeling like I can release it and not worry. Oh, that's been a lot. That was cool.
And that's a cool one too, actually. That was 13 millimeter toe, 12 low, so not a great strike.
No, it didn't feel like it. That's why when I looked up, I was like, wait.
Still 123 ball speed and flew 175.
And that for me is the reason of like, see, that was super toey again, super release, but like, that's my new left miss.
3 yards.
Yeah, instead of head down pointing. Yeah, like for that ball to still get 106 feet in the air is a miracle. If you've seen me on the golf course in the last 60 days.
It's one thing I know. Like, I personally play this as well, and I played King Tour for a long time. I don't practice a lot, and my miss is that toe miss too. When I get that toe miss, I look up and go, like, it shouldn't be there. It should be way more left.
So this batch, because of what we saw the last time, I just told myself, like, just feel free to release it. It feels so good. Like, that's so much better.
Yeah, so you've hit this now, almost 10 times. You only had 2 that were left the line, and they were just left the line.
Well, and the one from the previous session was just a straight pull, too. Like, I don't think that even started right on that last one.
So good, even with a couple miss hits now in here, you're still the highest ball speed, right?
It sets up really nice. I like. Is this still too flat, too?
It's too flat. One question's come up quite a lot with custom fitting and 3D printing is how bendable these are. These bend really, really easy, just like a forge club. So again, we could order them for you too flat. You get on the golf course, if it's a little right, we could bend them back to 1 flat, or we can order them 1 flat, and then if you need to go flatter, you can go after.
Like, that was such a miss, and it's fine.
Really good. Starting right, just falling slightly left.
Yeah, that's...
I think one thing I noticed too with people indoors versus outdoors, like indoors, a lot of times aiming can be hard, right? Outdoors, you get outside, you either, if you're playing your draw, you might go to the left side of the tee box, or you might pick a target. Or indoors, you kind of stand up there and swing, right?
Yeah, no, this feels great. So we're Okay, so Modus 120X, standard length, 2 flat, didn't touch the loft.
Again, once you get on the golf course, figure out your gapping with your wedges. If the lie angle seems too flat, again, these bend really easy. You could always tweak after the fact. And that's the one thing, whenever we fit people here, we always encourage them. If they ever need tweaks down the road later, we always welcome them back free of charge.
Absolutely.
We tweak loft and lies if needed. So again, 3D printed irons, they bend like butter, just like a forged club.
Yeah,
So.
sure. Awesome. All right, well, sold. I got some irons I got to rebuild again, but that's not a problem. If it does that, then you're going to get a text from me in about 15 days of how happy I am. So
Awesome.
appreciate it. Thank you both for the time.
Yes, no problem.
That was great. Thank you for the insights too. I think people will love that side of it. Obviously, like watching fittings and stuff is really fun for nerds like me, but it's cool to get the insights from the people that are actually hands-on with it from kind of inception to launch. Excited to end this video so that we can do the next video because that one's going to be fun. But for now, thanks for watching. Subscribe, do all the things, and thanks again for your time, guys. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Awesome.